The bond between a Jedi and his lightsaber is almost indescribable. The fabled blade is more than a weapon. It is a symbol of the entire order and their ultimate tool to achieve peace when all else has failed. But when we turn back the pages and look at the day 12-year-old Anakin Skywalker created his own lightsaber, we'll find something interesting, something dark. What was it, and why did it haunt Anakin for years to come? We'll answer these questions and more in today's Underrated Moments. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. You might notice that the voice today is a bit different than usual. I'm Lim, the actual showrunner and writer here. Nolan is our other narrator, and he's been helping me do voiceovers for a while, but I'll be joining now too. I'm holding a 10,000 subscriber giveaway. If you subscribe, watch this video to the end, and leave a comment, you'll be entered in a random drawing for a Saber Forged lightsaber. Yes, this is real, and I've got the YouTube comment picker app up and running. So again, just comment and you'll be entered. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this journey, and mostly for continuing to watch these videos. Now back to the story. When Obi-Wan Kenobi piloted to the rocky surface of Ilum, he couldn't help but recall his own time as a Padawan, when he accompanied Master Qui-Gon Jinn to the fragile planet in the unknown regions. At that time, Kenobi could hardly imagine what twists and turns his life would take. And now, all his youth had gone by in a flash. And somehow, he was a master, escorting a young Padawan of his own on a quest to the ice-covered world. "Is the planet Ilum as you imagined it, Anakin?" Obi-Wan asked as he walked behind young Skywalker. Between the steep towers of brown, jagged rocks, flat pockets of snow filled the landscape. "Yes," Anakin replied, before adding, "Well, maybe a bit colder." As they approached the face of a sheer glacial cliff, Anakin couldn't help but wonder something. "Tell me, Master," he asked, as Obi-Wan retrieved a series of metallic climbing gauntlets. "Why did the Jedi choose such a hazardous spot to keep the Ilum crystals?" By now, Skywalker already knew the perils that young Jedi Padawans faced. Ever since the Sith revealed themselves during the battle above Naboo some years earlier, it seemed that the disappearance and unfortunate deaths of apprentices was increasing at a terrifying rate. But Kenobi simply cast away Skywalker's concern with a familiar comment. "The challenge is part of the reward." Soon, the pair ascended the dense ice wall, and when they reached a tiny diamond-shaped cave, they climbed inside and threw aside their hiking gear. "Now comes the hard part," Kenobi remarked, as he slid his arm out of one of his jacket sleeves. "The crystals are deep within. To reach them, you will have to pass through visions and voices." Visions, voices, none of this was new to Anakin. Even before he joined the Jedi Temple, when he was just a slave boy on the sand-soaked world of Tatooine, the Force haunted him with apparitions. Some of them may frighten you. Some of them are drawn from your own past. They are your deepest fears. That is what you must face, Obi-Wan continued. Deepest fears. As Obi-Wan uttered that final line, he was reminded of his own fears. After all, he accepted Anakin as his apprentice, not because he wanted to train the boy, but because it was the dying wish of his own master, Qui-Gon Jinn. But Kenobi couldn't help but feel like a failure. And with the Sith Master lurking somewhere in the galaxy, Obi-Wan rightly worried that the only thing that stood between Anakin and the dark side was Kenobi's fractured mentorship. After handing Anakin a small brown satchel, filled with the electrical components the boy would need to make his own lightsaber hilt, Obi-Wan Kenobi sent him further into the cave, alone and unprotected. Anakin looked into the narrowing blackness and took one step forward, then another, and another. Before long, there was nothing but darkness, and the swirls of luminescent green hieroglyphs that ancient Jedi had etched into the walls. After some time had passed, Anakin's eyes caught a strange sight. It was a boy, dressed in a filthy brown tunic and sporting a head of unwashed, sand-crusted hair. it was obvious to Anakin who this child was. It was him. Only, perhaps, a ghost of himself from years prior, during his years of servitude in Mos Espa. But Skywalker remembered Obi-Wan's words that the cave would play with his mind. So Anakin clenched his fists, closed his eyes, and rejected the vision. But as he stepped away, a more terrifying apparition appeared. It was his mother, Shmi. Without a father, Shmi was the only family Anakin had ever known, and it couldn't help but feel like he abandoned her when he left their slum and took off for Coruscant with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. But here, in this cave, those fears manifested themselves. Anakin saw Shmi, but now she was running for her life as a giant four-eyed beast snatched her up. If Skywalker had kept his emotions under control, he would have easily seen that the monster in this vision wasn't real and was just a recreation of one of the terrible slave traders he had avoided in his youth. But overwhelmed by fear that his mother would die, Anakin tackled that monster. And as soon as his hands broke into its cold black flesh, it vanished, leaving behind small, green orbs of light that floated into the air. The crystals and the cave were challenging him to see if he was truly worthy. And now, even Skywalker wasn't sure if he was. As he turned a corner towards a dome-shaped room, Anakin discovered a room filled with shimmering crystals. They came in all shapes and colors, just like the lightsabers that the Jedi Knights on Coruscant wielded. There were sparkling blues, magnificent yellows, and strangely, even crimson red. Anakin closed his eyes and searched his feelings. He wouldn't choose his own crystal based on color. The Force would guide him, and after getting in tune with his powers, Anakin was led to a specific crystal, a shimmering blue. He quickly retrieved it and sat down on the chamber floor. With the rest of his lightsaber components in his brown bag, Anakin would spend the next few hours, or possibly even days, making his blade. But as soon as he got to work, Skywalker felt a presence. And it wasn't his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or any other light side figure. Did I startle you? It was Darth Maul. Somehow, the Sith Lord had survived his duel with Obi-Wan Kenobi on Naboo, and was here in the caves of Ilum. Perhaps you need to work on those Jedi reflexes. You're almost as clumsy as Qui-Gon Jinn, the Dathomirian said, taunting the boy through his stained yellow teeth. In an instant, Skywalker leapt to his feet and retrieved the training saber that was attached to his belt. It wasn't a proper weapon, and would hardly be enough to defeat Darth Maul, but Anakin didn't care. In this moment, in the midst of one of his greatest challenges as a Jedi, Anakin forgot all reason and logic. He simply wanted to strike Maul dead. But with a swift pull of his hand, Maul yanked the lightsaber out of Anakin's palm and threw it against the wall. Your training lightsaber is a boy's toy, the Sith Lord said, before throwing Anakin a fully functional and lethal version of the weapon. Try this. Skywalker didn't need much more motivation than that. In an instant, he clicked the switch on the side, and a blue blade hummed to life. Why do you fear your anger? Why do you fear your hate? Maul said, using the same techniques to seduce Anakin that had served the Sith for millennia. I can feel it. You hate me. It is natural after all. I gutted your friend like an animal. The last comment was the final straw. With two hands wrapped around the hilt, Anakin struck out at Maul. But with a swift parry, the Sith Lord deflected the attack. You see what anger can do? It gives you power. It is something you can use, like a weapon. You thought the same thing a moment ago. Why deny it? The two continued to battle, trading blow for blow. As Maul continued to tempt Anakin with the power of the dark side, Skywalker did his best to refuse. It isn't power I seek, he said, as his blue lightsaber crashed again against Maul's crimson blade. Then you lie, the Sith Lord responded. How else will you save the poor mother you abandoned if you do not have power? It was true. Anakin had made a vow to himself that he would use his power as a Jedi to liberate his mother from slavery. But here, in the Force-powered caverns of this strange world, Anakin wouldn't discuss the truth with a Sith. In a final horizontal slice, Anakin cut Maul in two, just as Obi-Wan had done years ago. But for a moment, Maul's body stayed still. "Don't you remember, boy? I'm just a vision, your vision," the apparition taunted, as the gap in its waist reformed and became whole. "I'm the master you secretly want. The dark side can deliver what you most desire, admit it." As Maul held the searing edge of his lightsaber against Anakin's face, the boy realized something. "I created you," Anakin said, "and I can make you go away." And that's exactly what Anakin did. The apparition of Maul fell away, and then Anakin's real master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, reappeared. It seemed that while Anakin fought against the Vision, he had actually constructed his lightsaber in the real world. And it was his duel against Maul, and his own personal fight with the dark side, that allowed him to do so. Although the lightsaber was the symbol of the Jedi, Anakin's was different. It was created, at least in part, thanks to the dark side, and that fact, and the specter of Maul's legacy, would stay with Anakin until the very end. Thank you so much for watching this video through to the end. If you haven't had a chance, please remember to like, subscribe, and then comment if you want to be entered in our 10,000 subscriber giveaway. We are giving away an amazing Starforged lightsaber, so you won't want to miss out. And it helps me so much on my 6 months journey to try and make this thing my full-time job. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon here on Underrated Moments.